Moving on with COVID-19 changing so much around us, the question that often arises for the biggest marketers today is what are the best practices followed by organizations to ensure employee safety and at the same time take into account that business is carried out smoothly. So to discuss the topic managing workforce in the new normal, may I introduce my guest for today, Tarun Katyal, CEO Z5, Anuradha Razdan, ED HR HUL, Dr. PV Ramanamurthy, Executive Vice President, Global Head, Human Resource at IHCL. All of you, welcome to the show. My first question is to you, Anuradha. Managing workforce in the new normal, that's the topic for today. But businesses have started opening up. Employees are slowly getting back to work. People are following social distancing norms at the same time. And of course, the safety and the hygiene protocols that are followed. Can you tell us the top few things that organizations should keep in mind as employees come back to work?
Thanks. The first thing I would say is that an organization needs to first decide what their approach and strategy to opening up their workplace will be. And of course, this has to be determined by the reality of the business and your ways of working, but also the reality of employees, what's happening in their personal lives, what their um, realities are. And therefore, I would really say the first thing is that I hope, and most organizations have been in deep touch and listening with their employees over the last few months. And that becomes even more important as we start to think about opening up. Having said that, I would say the first thing I would say, plan well and exercise caution. Don't be in a rush to bring back everybody, and don't be, all of us have thought about all the changes that we can make following this pandemic, and it's all good stuff. But just remember that we have to take our people along. Our people have been through a crisis and an experience like none other in their lives. And therefore, it's important to meet people where they are. The people who left the workplace aren't the people who are coming back. Their priorities have changed. Their realities have changed. Things like health, well-being, how they'll commute from work, simple things like that have come to the fore. And therefore, I would suggest that, rather than looking at it as a completely different workplace, the day you come back, guide them through this change. Take the next 5 or 6 months to plan this change, understand how things have changed for employees, for the organization, and gradually plan. It is true that after this, we will not go back to the ways of working before. And it would be a shame if we did that. Of course, we will leverage technology. Of course, we will leverage flexibility. Um, but we have to do so mindfully. And as we do so, I would say an organization must remember to not forget the culture that has made it successful. And like they say, when you transfer fish into a new bowl, don't forget the water because that's the glue. And so it's the culture that we must remember to take forward.
Okay, and so many months of working from home has clearly changed so much about us, the way in which we work, the way in which we communicate with our fellow colleagues, etc., with our bosses. So before we move on, can you tell us, Anuradha, when are you looking to get employees back to office at HUL?
I wish I could tell you a date. I don't have a date. Like I said, we will proceed with a lot of caution, depending on government advisory, but most importantly, the rate of the infection. And once, even when things start to get back to normalcy, we will give it another 3-4 weeks. So in this, we believe a lot of caution. So unfortunately, I can't give you a date. I can't wait to get back to office myself, but I can't give you a date.
Okay. Before Anupriya Acharya, CEO Publicis Group South Asia, has just joined us. So welcome, Anupriya.
Thank you very much. Sorry for getting late. As usual, last minute connectivity issues, but I'm glad I could make it.
Yes, that's the new normal for us.
Yeah.
Moving on to Dr. Murthy, IHCL being in travel and hospitality, the day-to-day business for, your organization had come to a complete halt during the lockdown. But at the same time, you guys volunteered and opened your hotels to the health workers to support them. What was that like, and what was it to convince your employees, to actually come to the hotels and come forward to help them and support them? Can you share those those insights, and what was that like?
Sure, sure. First of all, thanks for having me on this show, Shivani. See, like you said, hospitality industry in general has suffered a lot due to this lockdown, the COVID-19 situation. What happened was immediately after the lockdown has been imposed, what naturally came out of us as an organization is to support the community. You all know about the fact that the organization supported the medical fraternity by supplying the food and opening up our doors of the hotels for their stay. So that's the natural instinct, like Anuradha has talked about the culture. The culture and values of the organization is that put others first, put the community in front of you and support them when there is a crisis situation. And when it comes to our employees, like I said, it's natural instinct. It's we have in it in our DNA. Our employees stand by their values and by the values of the organization. What we did during that period, apart from supporting the community, is that we focused big time on the employee health and well-being. We wanted to ensure that our employees are safe and secure, whether they are working in some of our facilities or whether they are working from home. So that was the primary objective of us. And in order to do that, what we have done is, we have taken a few steps. One is communication. Communication is everything is what we thought. It's communicate, communicate, communicate constantly is what we have been doing with our employees. To talk about one or two initiatives which we took. One was, the personal counseling services for all our employees. Every employee can pick up the phone, access a counselor and share his or her issues, whether it is work related or personal. We thought that putting focus not just on the physical well-being of the employee, but also on the mental and emotional well-being is very, very important for us. That's one thing which we did. The other thing is during this particular period, we put big time focus on revisiting our standard operating process. The SOPs have been looked at. We knew that safety and hygiene is going to be very, very important once we open up our hotels. So this is where all the SOPs have been revisited. All the employees have been trained on these SOPs. And what came out of it was Tajness, a commitment re-strengthened. And then we reached out to all our customers or our guests and then personally communicated what actions have been taken. As we opening up, I think the customers or the guests are in a much better position to go back with full comfort and stay in our hotels and dine in our restaurants. That is how I would put it, Shivan.
Okay, but as you opened up and you have opened up your hotels now, clearly staff feels anxious going back to work. What role does HR play in making staff less anxious about going back to work?
Like I said, the Tajness part of it, what we called it as a commitment re-strengthened, it doesn't just put focus on the customers or the guests. It also puts focus on the employees. We have taken all necessary care to ensure, whatever are the prescriptions made by the government, the World Health Organization. So all those things are followed. Apart from those aspects, we have also looked at various other elements, like I was talking about the emotional well-being of the employees. So that's where, we thought we should give that comfort to the employees. And also, most importantly, when we speak about emotional or mental health well-being of the employees, we thought that reaching out to the employees specifically and checking about their older parents, for example, about their well-being, in case if there is any kind of an exigency, giving them the necessary kind of a support. That's one thing we ensure. And similarly, many of our employees stay by themselves, stay alone in various cities and towns. How do we reach out to them during this particular period and give them that comfort, and also make sure that they understand the standard operating procedures? The SOPs, the newly laid out the safety and hygiene aspects, how would they understand? How do we train them up during this particular period so that they will also get the comfort and they can come back and work in the hotels is what we have been doing.
Okay. Changes in the workload, entire workload during the pandemic has caused a huge imbalance in some, the entire human resource allocation. Some businesses did well, especially for an industry like yours. Certain of, employees servicing those businesses were really neck deep in work. At the same time, others were left with absolutely no work. So, and also during the same time, Publicis, group, in fact, fastened the entire process of rolling out this AI platform of yours, which is Marcel, that helped that resource allocation for the group at a global level to a great extent. Can you tell us a bit more about it? And, as Mr. Sadun mentioned, how it helped save jobs. Can you elaborate on how did it do so?
Yeah, surely. So first, of course, I must say that if we didn't have Marcel, we launched it a couple of years back, but if we didn't have Marcel, I think we would have needed to invent it just for this moment. It's coming so handy at a point like this, and I'll elaborate further on that. But before that, just let me explain a little bit what Marcel is. It is essentially an AI-powered enterprise level platform that transforms our organization from a holding company. What I mean by a holding company is like we are a group of agencies in various areas, whether it is creative, tech, digital, media. So it helps us transforming from that to a platform. And in that sense, creating a first truly borderless, frictionless enterprise workforce. And it's powered by Microsoft, of course, works very well. I'm on it as well. And its mission essentially is to connect the 80,000 people that we have across the world, 80,000 creative minds across the group, and in order to, they can learn more, they can share more, they can create more. And so in that sense, it's not just an app, it's an ecosystem, and it is helping us break the barriers between talent and opportunity. Now, that's what it has been designed to do. In that, because the 80,000 people are connected on the back of that, it also ushers in a new era of creativity and innovation. But in a time like this, in the current climate, the culture of sharing ideas, products, methods, and best practices becomes even more vital. So that there is a huge underlining to that whole thing. So what it was originally designed to do, to cut to the current climate, it has been really, really helpful. So just to give you an example on Marcel, employees can, we all have registered on that. We have all our areas of skills, like which area are we in, which part of the market are we in, what do we do, what our background is like, what are the clients we are working on, and what is our area of expertise, right? So over there, employees can bid to take part in client projects, team up with any project, and there are no geographical boundaries. So anybody sitting in India, for example, can team up with somebody in Italy or somebody in Jakarta, and they can get work done and then move on to other projects. So on that, we have like very interesting things we have launched on that. So one example, is like what we call the open brief, where very recently a leading food brand had put up a brief, the original market where it had come, and and inviting creative ideas and a global call for ideas basically. And they got incredible sort of inputs from across the network, because some of the best talent and who is interested in working on that was able to sort of crowdsource ideas in that sense. So another one, of course, we on cross-pollination across disciplines and agencies across markets again is what we call, there's a feature called, we call it gigs. So this is an enhancement of an internal job feature. And now Publicis is making it, its people aware of all the project-based work on businesses that they wouldn't get to do normally on, they couldn't put their hands on normally in. And these are typically very short-term projects, very, quick up for grabs, quick do-it-yourself, for example. So, for a recent client's transformation plan, you could be taking photographs of your breakfast and posting it because that was required as part of the crowdsourcing, or, pictures of your sneakers. It could be anything. So people are doing it. The other day in India, for example, somebody needed a translation into Sinhalese and realized last minute that they didn't have that expertise over here. In less than 24 hours, they were able to get that from the Sri Lanka market without sending any sort of mails and so on and so forth. So that's how. And then just on the back of all of this, like matching talent with opportunities, one of the key things that you mentioned, indeed, there have been categories where there hasn't been, because of the meltdown in the COVID time, there has been less work, and there have been pockets where there has been excessive work. Because of this, we have been able to introduce, people from, where the work was lesser, and introduce them to teams where the work was higher, what we call as a publicist bench. In India alone, we've been able to redeploy 200 people in the last few months. And so it is
And that's
equivalent of
global
saving,
level.
yes, it's equivalent of, saving 200 jobs. And then, of course, it does a lot more, like, there is a sense of isolation, like we just spoke of, right? It helps helps remove the sense of isolation as well. There's a feeling of connectivity. We hosted global set of awards, and that there was a whole ceremony which was live streamed. So it helps you do a lot of things. But I feel that in a time like this, of course, it's like almost like God sent.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned 200 people in India itself. What was it at the global level? Because this platform is open to your agencies across the globe.
Globally, I presume it would be running into thousands, but I wouldn't have whatever is the latest number.
Okay. Okay. Tarun, moving over to you. This pandemic definitely accelerated the adoption of OTT platforms, but at the same time, your employees were remote working. How did you ensure smoother functioning since there was a sudden surge or increase in the demand while people were at home and working from home?
So yeah, we were very uniquely placed than most others. I must tell you that, when we started Shoot, one of the first locations that helped us put it all together was the Taj in Goa. And a lot of our people stayed at the Taj. So thank you so much for all you guys do. And it's been a really, really good experience for most of our people. But coming back to our business, yes, we saw a huge surge of consumption on digital video streaming. Unfortunately, as people got locked in, their entertainment options also got limited. And what also happened is that linear television, as well as theaters, as well as most other live sports and everything else, got curtailed down across the world. So there was very little content to watch outside of digital video streaming on the subscription side. But what also happened is that, Shivani, is that bandwidth became a big challenge. And the first thing the government came back to us and told us was that, we all had to downgrade our bit rates. And that also overnight. While it looks all very normal and it isn't just a switch from the back, we had to go down and re-engineer our entire content workflow over 15 to 20 days. And most of our teams, which were not in the same place, some of them had at least gone back home to different locations, had to come back together and write scripts and codes over the first 15 to 20 days to be able to launch an entire new bitrate ladder for users to be able to consume their content. And I must admit that I think, while we all supported the government and supported the users, but the team supported each other and collaboration was like never before. Our big opportunity or our big advantage has also been that we are tech first. So some of us have been using Zoom for the last 4 years and Microsoft Teams for the last 4 years. So it isn't something new for us, right? We have development teams in Poland, we have development teams in Israel, we have teams in Asia, and so on and so forth. And it was never possible if we were not virtually connected to all these teams to be able to develop the product that we do on an ongoing basis. But we kept three things in mind, what we call the 3 Cs. The first started with concern. I think we as business leaders had to have concern to our teams, to whatever they were going through. Because throughout the pandemic, there was one part of our team who had to go back to work every single day. They had to put it together because, our network operations, our editing studios, our servers had to be maintained from one single location in Bombay and another location in Delhi. The other was care. I think we had care for all their families and for them, and we had to keep them safe on an ongoing basis. And I can tell you, for a large workforce that was going back to work every single day, we had very, very few incidents of anybody catching the virus. The third was connections. And I think that was the most important thing. We had to stay connected with each other. And personally, myself and all the business leaders made sure that at least once or twice a week, we met the entire team virtually, spoke to them, understood their problems, solved for their problems, and did whatever it took to be able to keep people in good mental as well as physical shape, right? And I say mental because I think we are creative people. A lot of us are creative people and a lot of us are engineers. And both of them need to do something on an everyday basis that is very different, right? And we need to keep them stimulated, motivated, and they're used to seeing the world in a different lens, right? Some of our guys want to literally go to the beach, take a table and a chair and sit and write over there because I mean they need that entire universe to be able to imagine stories. And so all of this had to be taken care of. Also, we went back to shoot. And it's been now about 45 to 60 days where we went back to shoot. And you would know this, you're in the broadcast business yourself. Going back to shoot with crews of that large size was almost impossible, right? So we had to curtail the crews down. We had to define new roles and responsibilities to be able to see who can go back to shoot, how can we shoot with fewer people, how can we do fight scenes very differently, how do we do intimate scenes very differently, how do we encourage actors to come back to shoot, right? Because some of the celebrities, actors, they think a lot about their life and their families and they don't want to come back to work. And some of these shoots are mostly all in different locations. So we're shooting in London, we're shooting in Goa, we're shooting in Nasik, we're shooting in Calcutta. So we're shooting in almost I have 7 or 8 shoots. One of the films that we shot in the last 30 days, we shot in London without any of us going from here to London. So we got one of our lead actresses to go from Dubai, one coming from Canada. We got the lead actor from London itself. We got the entire surround cast from London. We got the cinematographer, the director, everybody from Europe, and got them together in London and remotely controlled our entire production. So it's been
A long, yeah.
it's been a
No, go on,
journey
go on.
which is never going to be the same again. I think we've learned so much out of it. We've used so many collaborative tools. We've used so much technology to be able to see every single shot in the camera and then be able to build it out. We've done so much around customer acquisition and understanding the changing user habits using technology. And all of this, both whether our technology teams, whether our marketing and customer acquisition teams, or whether our production and content teams had to be collectively put together to be able to build a business which was completely new and hadn't been done before ever.
So you just gave us like a taste of what has changed in terms of production on the field and how are you guys shooting. Also, my next question would be to Dr. Murthy. There will be so much change around us as we open offices. What will be the newer practices that we will see in offices in the coming days? When I started working, for example, there were cubicles, then there were cabins for managers and your leaders, and that shifted to open office spaces. So what will change after this entire COVID disruption? Will there be an increase in the paid sick leaves, or more will we move back to like a more private space as compared to the open office floors that we are used to seeing today?
It's a very good question, Shivani. See, the way I look at it is while COVID-19 has brought in a lot of hardship to many of us, at the same time, it has also given us a lot of opportunities. And I think that, this is one of those opportunities where when we go back to work, many things are going to change. What's going to change? We all know that new business models are emerging. New strategies are being worked out. Take, for example, our own case, hospitality at home, Cumin app. You can dine in your dining room at home with all comforts except the ambience and then the service part of it. You can have the best of menu from our hotels. These new business models are emerging. Given that kind of a scenario, just look at it from the human resources perspective. Even the HR policies, practices are also going to change. The way we work with our people, with our talent, is certainly going to change. One word that could define the business angle is agile. Businesses need to be agile. We all know that going forward, we cannot be rigid, whether it is in terms of our strategy or in terms of our tactics. Similarly, when it comes to people, it is the same solution. We need to be much more agile than before. It cannot be a rigid performance management system kind of a thing. It has to be agile. The kind of people we are going to recruit, there should be much more agility in that space. And when it comes to working from the office or from somewhere else, what we are thinking is apply this agility as the main principle and redesign all our personnel policies, HR policies and processes, and even in terms of work. Of course, when it comes to the hotel level employees, the guest interaction, that would continue. In many of the cases, some of the positions will have to make sure that they work from the hotel. But for all back office functions, let's take, for example, the corporate office, we are trying to redesign to understand as to how can we make sure that our employees can work from their homes or from wherever they are in the world. That's the kind of opportunity this COVID has provided to us. And one last point, that like I was saying, that it's the agility is the mantra. Apply agility, whether it is talent acquisition, the kind of talent you are acquiring, the way you are making them to work, the kind of performance assessments you are doing, everything needs to be agile in the new scenario. That's how we are looking at it, Shiva.
Yeah, that's a great thought. Agility is what you're looking at. Anuradha, my next question is to you. What will change in terms of talent acquisition in a company like HUL in the coming days? Because this is the question that is, concerning most of the students or most of the, most of the people that I know who are pursuing MBA. So can you just share that? What will change in talent acquisition strategy?
So my first sort of call out to all the MBAs and students um, is to say that what an exciting time to be at the start of your career, at a time when everything that we thought was a given is up for challenge, and you have the opportunity to shape this new future and a new normal. Coming to HUL, I would say that our talent acquisition stays true to our values. We will continue to look for top talent or stunning talent, like we like to say, across the world. And we will engage deeply with our talent because we believe that talent who joins us stays with us for a long time. And so we like them to know what they are coming into, and we like to get to know them quite deeply over a longish period of time. And now with technology, we can do this. All of this is possible, and you can do it at scale. Earlier, if you had to go from campus to campus for pre-placement talks and interactions, now one can do it very differently to access many more students across many more locations. The first and foremost is that this situation will not deter us from building future leaders. In fact, we were the first company this year to go to campuses and say that we will honor every one of the 100 internships that we had offered. And I'm really proud to say that we gave them a fabulous experience where each one of them said that they would love to recommend this to any other friend or colleague. What I would say to talent is, of course, we will continue to look for some of the things that we looked before in terms of their functional skills, in terms of leadership. But some other things become really important at a time like this. The first and foremost, I would say, an opportunities mindset, no victim mindset. What an incredible opportunity. Like I said, you have to start and join business at a time like this. The second thing is we've heard about how fast things are changing, and agility, really learning agility, a curious mindset, an open mindset. Sometimes when young people join the organization, they're very worried about what stint and what role and what project. I mean, we were just talking about Marcel. Similarly, Unilever has something called flex experiences. And I would say to students, be open, grab every opportunity that comes your way and focus on the learning. And finally, I would say that, really stick true to your values, what you stand for, what your leadership brand is, because ultimately your purpose, your passion is who you are. And this pandemic will come and go. And we will look for people who have that clarity of purpose, that authenticity. So these are some of the things which we will look for in talent.
Clarity of purpose and authenticity. Finally, before we go to Anupriya and Tarun, economy has taken a hit and, forcing organizations to freeze hiring, cut the headcount budget in order to sustain revenues and margins. When, according to you, will hiring be back to normal to pre-COVID times, or if at all, will it go back to pre-COVID times?
So I can go first on that. So yes, that is true. Obviously, it has been a tough time. Quarter two was a complete, quite a washout because suddenly the whole world got entangled in this never seen before kind of a time, and everybody was trying to figure what next and how to deal with it. It was like the mother of all VUCAs that has happened really. But we are seeing green shoots quite clearly over here, and we started seeing some green shoots starting June. And they have continued towards July and August. And like everyone, we are hoping for a good festive season. Whatever little we can see, I mean, some of the businesses possibly have been quite terribly impacted given COVID and the nature of the business like travel, tourism possibly. But we are also seeing that quite a few categories have either, come back to the original level or possibly even doing better. So we find that, food, beverage, essentials, personal care, personal mobility, we're finding like two-wheelers, entry-level automobiles and all of that. So that's I think the bit by bit. I won't say we are just there yet, but the green shoots are quite clearly visible. And then obviously it has direct impact on our business as well. So there are areas we have found a lot of acceleration, like commerce, for example. A lot of clients suddenly want to do a lot of e-commerce, want a lot of e-commerce direct to consumer kind of solutions. So those areas have been growing very fast. And all have been growing very fast for us in the last few months, in fact. So over there, we have been continuing our high. I think if all goes well, we should be back to, back to normal.
Tarun, quickly over to you.
Anupriya, we added a lot of business in your life this quarter. Yeah, so we've been very different, to be honest, and more talent, good talent, very welcome. We, like Anuradha said, we've stayed true to our core values. We continue to hire. We've hired about close to 100 people in the last
Wow.
5 to 6 months, and and we need to hire many more. Our business is obviously digitally transforming. Our need for people in engineering, uh, our need for people in product, our need for people in data sciences and data engineering, our need for people in category management has been quite steep. And, we're looking for young talent. We're looking for talent which is moderately experienced. We're looking for talent which is committed and passionate. And most importantly, has innovation in their blood. Because our business is changing very, very rapidly. I can tell you that we were waiting for this triangulation of data, broadband, video content, as well as the large screen to happen. And we've seen that there has been a tectonic shift of usage of the television now, as they called it, for video on demand rather than for linear already. And, we spent the last 18 months building apps for that platform, but it's now not even enough, and we need to upgrade. We need to add new features. We've just launched a new short form app called Hippie that's in beta. And we want to take that to the next level, because short video and 90-second video is another place that we want to be for both users as well as advertisers. We are building out a new ad tech stack So the possibilities are really limitless, and we're looking for good talent to come our way. So anybody who's watching this, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to work with you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Therefore, effective workforce planning, agile talent that has innovation in their blood, ably supported by technology, will be crucial for all sectors to survive and thrive in an environment where social distancing, complex shift rotations, and remote monitoring will be the new normal. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today.